Hello, guys. Let us talk about web testing today, which is more of a specific testings that we will perform on any kind of web applications specifically. So, from history point of view, there are a lot of different kind of applications in web in the real world scenarios. There are desktop applications like Notepad, the client server applications like Skype, and the web applications like your google.com. So traditionally we used to have our kind of applications, but when web came, which is a revolution in internet and in the real world, so the demand for web has been increased like anything, and the number of browsers has been increased like anything. But finally what happened, because a lot of applications are being deployed on web, there's a lot of different other needs, which there are a lot of other things that we need to consider while testing web application. And you definitely know that we definitely have to do a functional testing from a black box point of view to test the actual user flows. That is part of every kind of application. It can be Notepad, calculator, Skype, or anything, okay, or even web. We test a login screen and those kind of thing, but that is a functional. Apart from that, to be very importantly, a lot of testings that we need to do as a part of web applications testing, because we are not a standalone application, but we rely on a third party application to access the web. So that third party application is nothing but your browser. So you rely on your browser to render some data. So because the browser itself will render the data, there are a lot of things that may affect your application to show properly. You may think that whatever the application that you developed is perfectly shown to the end user, but that may not be the case, because you are relying on one more third party software like browser, internet, chrome, or other kind of applications to render. So that particular browser may stop some of your features, or may not render according to the consumer needs. So that way you need to make sure that your application is uh, fulfilling the requirements that you are thinking that should go straight away into the consumer. So in that purpose, if you read this document, so yeah, the first thing is www web. So it is like all there are a lot of web applications, and if you go through this, you can say that what is the definition of web. The definition of web is you can access concurrently. That is the biggest difference between a web application and a normal application. So you can access 1,000 users at one point of time, and you have to use a browser for that. And typically we don't directly interact with any hardware and any kind of operating system. So you can use your application in Mac or in Windows, it looks same. So your browser's headache is to interact with your hardware and operating system. So web point of view, there straight away. So that's the reason why is a big hit. And moreover, there are a lot of components that can get our runtime. So if you want to get the current weather from any of your websites, it's very simple. You can every minute they can update, because you are directly connected to the server. But if it is desktop application, you can't really update your things every moment. So you need to again have a time lag, and you need to get into server and get the things. So you can't be so much sync with your server. So web is very good at that. And also web uses very less resources coming to normal desktop applications. All right, so that's more of a definition purpose. But from the testing point of view, first and foremost thing that is definitely done in a web application is performance testing. So again, the performance testing is consisting of two things from my point of view. One is load testing. The load is nothing but the response time that your web application will take for a request that you had sent. So if you're putting a request for a server, the time it takes to get back your response is called a your response time. So that response time varies on a lot of different kinds of environment, different kind of parameters like internet speed, the browser speed, your network speed, and your hardware configuration, and your whatever the Wi-Fi connection, whatever it is. So there are a lot of bottlenecks. So, but typically for the load testing, there will be an SLA called service line agreement between in your company, saying that the maximum time it should load is 5 seconds or 10 seconds, or the worst case it can be 20 seconds. So you should get that time and do the testing such a way that all your pages with all kind of loads, it should not exceed more than 20 seconds. Example, if you're logging, it should take 5 seconds. If you're doing a checkout, it's in that case also it should not take more than 10 seconds. If it is payment, it should not take more than 20 seconds. If it's taking more than 20 seconds and giving a 30 seconds result, then means that there's a bug there. So you need to raise it, and then your developer will go and fix it. And the typical issues in a real time that you get around the load testing is when you search for some data into the search field. Example, you are searching for a consumer in your consumer records. It takes a lot of time to get the request back. Maybe there may be 1,000 records. So typically it takes, go to the database, put a select query and put a filter query, and it takes a lot of time. So it is impossible to get the results by 20 seconds. But what it could help is there is something called index in database. So the index is one of the very important component in database, which will help to get the results back onto your query. So it typically uses internal mechanism to actually dynamically search anything. So it's very good. So that you get some 90% more performance if you perform index. But still again, if you see application like Facebook and Google, how they are getting nowadays, we are not using SQL, we are not using databases, we are all using non-SQL database. So everything is saved in a thing called JSON files and plain text files. So if you see some database like MongoDB, yeah. So if you see the MongoDB is an open source tool, and it is a leading non-SQL database. That means that all the data that you see is saved in a plain text file. It's an absolutely plain text file. So you can see that it is very, very lightweight. And all Facebook, Google, and all the major companies and even eBay is following this non-SQL. And everything will be saved in a JSON style and XML style data. It's everything in the plain text. So if you want to get all the Facebook users information throughout the world, it will be hardly of 5 GB, because it will be some 100 text files. That's it. So getting the data from text file is very simple, and you can store as many levels of data that you want. You can have a user, that user will have the users, will have friends, and that friends will have some more friends, and that friends will have some likes and some post, and that post will have some likes. So everything, you can have any kind of tree structure like XML into a plain JSON file. So yeah, you can have any number of chain records. So it's very, very, very good. Okay. Anyway, why I'm telling that is, as a part of our web testing, performance is key. So that is one of the testing. So that's called load testing, right? So this is the main thing that you people are forgetting. Okay. Second thing is stress testing. It's again the number of users who can concurrently access any application to get a break-even point. So we can see that there's a break-even point. All right, but you need to know what are the tools which supports this load and stress. So almost all the tools supports both. But how we do a stress testing? By tools, because manually we can't ask 100 users to come and click any button at one time. It's impossible. So we use tools like Load Runner, JMeter, and Fiddler or something, those kind of tools. It will help us. So typically, where they will create virtual users called V users to actually emulate your load, and there is a point called rendu vs point, where it is a one point where all the users will come and sit and they will perform your action. Okay, so put that in your notes. All right, second important thing is, I think you almost know that compatibility testing is more of a compatible with different web servers, which is very important. uh, I mean, what is this compatibility means? You should be able to deploy your application in different servers. Example, IIS server for Windows, and WebLogic server for IBM, if I'm correct, and JBoss and Apache Tomcat servers for Apache. So we should, I mean, typically we should be able to deploy on that servers, and our application should be accessible with all kind of browsers. I think what are the major browsers? Browsers are Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, and Navigator, and Android browser, Android is a browser, and Opera. So this kind of browser. So we should make sure that our application is accessible of all the supported version. I don't think so all the web application will support all the browsers, so there will be cut off. Example, Chrome 20 to 21, or Internet Explorer more than 7. So it's not like that. We can't say that it should support IE 3 and 4. No, nothing like that. It should be like IE 6 and more than 6, like that. Okay, so we should test in all different kind of available. Available means what are the client requirement. We need to put that in our test strategy document. Second thing, usability. See, thing is, this is one of the very key why all these major applications like Google and Facebook, when compared to Yahoo and Orkut, they hit, because the Facebook, the usability is good. Usability is nothing but less number of clicks, the more output you get. So nowadays people are very busy, so the usability is more of a, it should be very much user friendly, less clicks, more output, and you should have very good graphics design. So in that case, I think BBC website is one of the best usability site. If you see, that is very usable. You can simply see almost all the data throughout the world. I mean, all the news with the world with a matter of 1 or 2 clicks. Click that, you can see very good, and it actually shows the data throughout almost all the different kind of regions. All right, so it's very usable. But if you see any websites like NDTV, okay, so I mean, the thing is, okay, I should not compare that. I mean, anyway, there are a lot of other websites, but typically there are a lot of websites which are not very as strong as BBC. So it's more of a usability. So the more faster, and it should be very much, and the color contrast and those kind of things are very important nowadays. The color contrast, this thing. So it all come under usability. So there will be some test cases that you need to design on usability, saying that the color contrast will be good, and user should take maximum of 2 links to navigate anywhere, and we should have something like a site map in your thing, so that people can easily know the complete map of your site. And you should always have the home button on the top of the menu, so that user can, from any page, you can go to home page within a click. Okay, so sometimes in bank applications they'll give bank back and forward button, so that it will be easy for you to navigate between your things, instead of using a browser back button. So this all comes under usability. So there should be a lot of usability test cases that you need to design. And yes, compare accessibility. So accessibility is more of how your application is accessible with the limited capabilities of the end user. So example, if a end user is blind, still they can use something like a reader kind of a mechanism where they should be able to go and read what is there in the content. So there are a lot of things. Uh, so example, if you see that the coding. So first of all, from accessibility point of view, there are three levels. There are three levels of accessibility. Like the way that we give star ratings to the hotels. If it is 3-star hotel, you will be have very good facilities, but they may not have a swimming pool, or they may not have a 24 hours dedicated coffee shop. If it is 5-star hotel, then everything is same, but they will have much more advanced features like Wi-Fi and all these things. So that way, you can have different levels of levels of your websites, and level one, level two, level three. Level three is very good website. BBC is a level three website. There's some website with level two. So the more flexibility that you give, the more star rating you get. And that, what are the things that they will consider is, your heading should be, see, you can see that all the headings should be very much in a proper readable format, and all the text should be large and should have a good contrast, and all the images should be properly shown, and every image should be easily clickable, and you should have, and very importantly, all the images should have alt as one of alt property. So if you put your image on any of your websites, see that sometimes you may get or you may not get, but see, you can see an alt, this one alt. So you should have that as a part of a accessibility checklist. So as a tester, you need to make sure that all the images have a alternative for that. Otherwise, it won't be much of a good website. Okay, so yes, and yes, one more important thing is, and yes, let me complete this. So, and the tab order should be proper. You should be able to, if you don't want to use mouse, but still with your keyboard, you should be able to access all your features. So when you click on tab, then your tab order should be from top to down. So that is one of the test case that you need to write as a part of accessibility test case, right? That is one of the thing. And your labels, everything should be properly labeled, and yeah, you should have this, and you should be able to save all the text, and you should be able to download all the things properly. So they're very limited kind of accessibility checklist, but there are a lot of checklists. Okay, in that option, the next level are disabling some of the web properties as a part of accessibility check. So how we need to disable some of the features in web, like JavaScript. We should be able to wait, there's some tool called for Chrome. So let me get this. Okay, see, so if what I should do is, there's something called a web developer, and if I install this, see, it's very good, and it all the browsers support this tool. So you need to download and install that tool called web developer. All right. Okay, so see, now it is added. So what I do is, if I open something like Amazon.com, because very good website. Now see what happens. Okay, see, what I can do is, see, first of all, I can disable some of the features. So if I disable some of the features, I definitely know that you will not get exactly the same website that you are seeing right now, but still you should be able to perform the basic operations. That way you need to design your website. Otherwise, there's no point of developing any website. So if you somebody don't like JavaScript, now see, but still your eBay will work. Okay, so because without JavaScript also, sometimes it struggles, but it will try to perform. But if you take some other websites like see, this guy is disabling JavaScript, it will take some little bit of time, but still it performs because it's a very good thing. But if you take some other websites like online designer series, okay, so what I do is, see, we got a lot of there's some websites which may not perform properly because of this. See, this is not getting updated because the JavaScript is disabled. So like this kind of things can happen. So you should make sure that even though your JavaScript is disabled, but still you should be able to access all the features. So, and what else I can do is, second thing is cookies. So yeah, if I disable cookies, then still I should be able to perform my basic actions. So example, if I go to my ebay.com or something like that, see, if I go to eBay, go to my eBay, it won't really fetch my details because I mean still the thing is you should be able to perform the basic operations based on your, even though we don't have cookies, see, JavaScript enabled registration. So sometimes if you can't really do anything with your JavaScript, then at least you should give a message saying to user saying that, please sir, your JavaScript is you need to do this to enable. At least this is the worst case instead of giving a bug. Okay, so that is the first thing. And yeah, cookies also we should be able to do it. And then sometimes you should be able to disable CSS, you should be able to disable forms, should any images. If you disable all the images, but still your eBay should look very good. See, there's no images, but still, is there any problem with alignment or something like that? No. Okay, it's all good. So it look like a plain text, but it's very see, it's not stopping you. But if you do the same thing for online designer series and see how it goes, there's no images. Okay, so okay, so the very thing is, now I don't have a button here, so bug. So if you don't have images, you can't buy an item. This is very important point. All right, so this is the thing we need to put that in mind. So tell these kind of things as an example. All right, so yeah, the miscellaneous, the lot of things that you can clear cache and everything you can do. Okay, this is part of accessibility testing. And sometimes you can increase the font, decrease the font, those kind of things. If a person with less sight should be able to do everything. If a person with color blindness, still also you should be able to do the basic performance. So those kind of things. All right, so that's for more of this. And yeah, security testing, I think in that security testing you will think about vulnerability testing, SQL injection, penetration testing. Write down SQL injection, penetration testing, and vulnerability testing, and data packet testing, something like that. And sometimes people people are very smart nowadays that because we have this console of this. People will be able to dynamically manipulate lot of data from your console here. Okay, they can do a lot of debugging and everything, and they can see a lot of code, and they may be exploiting a lot of things from here. So you should not typically put any of your code here. Should not put any credit card details or any kind of debit card details or your user details. Everything should not be part of any of your JavaScript or even HTML. So you can all see the JavaScript here, but you should not be able to see that. All right. See, you can see your Java style sheets and everything you can see, but you should not be able to see any of the sensitive data there. That's the point. All right. Got it. Okay. So apart from that, which is very much important, is there are a couple of more kind of testing that is not there in this PDF file. I think which is client side validation and server side validation. See, yeah, server pages, I think it is there. Okay. So the client pages. So typically, you think you know HTML code and you know JavaScript and you know content. So there are a lot of tests that you need to do on the client side, and there may be a lot of validations on the client side, like small pop-ups and the small JavaScript validations or something. Sometimes if you type your username, automatically it will give it is not strong. So it is more of a client side operations. So and otherwise the pop-ups and validations, they'll come from client side. So typically if you put little bit of effort, you will able to get that thing, what are the client validations, or if you ask your developer, he will tell. But the very much important is your server side validations. So typically for all the websites that you see nowadays, let me know this. Oops. Okay, so I reset it. So nowadays, so let me get everything back. Okay. So nowadays you can see that everything that you see, everything that you get in your, okay, let me disable this guy. Oops, this tool is not very good. It's not taking up. Extensions. Let me disable this extension for a moment. Where's the extension? Disable it. Come here. Okay, so yeah, you can see that, but you can also see that you can see a lot of resources here. If you go to this sources tab, the resources tab and network tab, you can see that every page will consist of different requests and responses. So one HTML page that you are seeing nowadays will consist of thousands of small resources. So what you need to check is, we need to check that whether your browser is properly handling with all the different kind of exception that can occur. Typically if you put a request, you will get different responses back. There are two type of requests, get and post, in HTTP normally for web applications. So whenever you get any of the response back, if any of the resource is not properly available, then you will get a response called 500, and all, and 501, 502, 503, all things, there are a lot of things around 500. They're all coming from the server side. If there is any problem with the server, they will get a different code. Example, if the page is not available, okay, example, say I do something like www .com. Is that page available? Okay, so okay, okay. Uh, See, so typically, see, wait for a minute. So what is response? You did not give any response. That means that you are getting your response as 500. So typically the server is not available, right? That's the reason why the response will be 500. So you can see that it's 525 something like that. Okay, so you got a different response, wrong response. And if it is something problem with the different kind of codes, um, error codes for websites, web pages. See, there are a lot of codes. Let us see common HTML codes, which is part of your server side validations. See, all 200 is always okay. Put that in mind. And 300s are okay. The web server side file name index. So it is more of a. It's more coming from the cache. 300s. Okay. If something is not available in cache, then it will come as 300s. Okay, so if the request is bad, or you have failed to provide a valid username and password for request. So if the request have some problem, even the request did not went into the client, then you will get 400 errors. So it is just still going, but it never went. Okay, the request file was not. So if you're not able to put your request properly, then these things, all 400s. The 500s are server side errors. So your request went, which is perfect, but your response is not perfect. So then the server is not responding properly. So you get 500 codes. Okay, so you need to test all the codes. So typically you need to stop your server and see the request response is fine or not. And suddenly you see that there is something happened. Then it's the thing is the response at least should properly given with the number. If it is giving, I don't know what you say, then that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so like that. And yeah, and we perform sometimes we do some integration testing with the client and server and client and database or those kind of thing. Okay, so that is more of a web testing point of view. Anything that you want to ask? Yeah, session testing as well. Yeah, very important. I just forgot, sorry for that. So nowadays we are doing some session testing, because all the transactions, everything that we do is a part of session. So if you log in, suddenly you copy that URL and put into a different browser, then automatically session should be invalidated. Or if you are taking more than some time, your session ID will be there, that should get invalidated. Or if you copy your session ID and put it into a different browser, that should never work. So always one session should be there for one particular request. If somebody else putting same session, that doesn't make any sense. You should not have duplicate session IDs. All the session IDs should be properly maintained. So you should have proper session IDs, and you should, and all the URL, and yes, you should validate all those kind of things. Okay, and also sometimes we use something like URL manipulation. So somebody, if somebody can manipulate your URL and get some advantage, we should stop that by hiding the URL with some code. So if you go to Google and if you do something, you can see that there are a lot of there may be a lot of undefined codes that you can see, because they're actually mocking your wrapping your URL properly so that you can't break it. All right. And finally, there's some set of tools which will help you to perform that. There's something like link checkers and HTML validators and usability test tools. And I think Selenium ID can be a part of recording playback tool. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Any questions? Okay, so that is the end of the web session, and I think our session is invalidated now.
Yeah.
So we need to stop our session.
Thank you.
Okay.
Validate or invalidate
Validate.
అంటే అదంతా రికార్డ్ అయిందా